Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Outer Rim Cantina. My name's Alan, and today I'm here to give my breakdown and review of The Mandalorian Chapter 8. This video will contain spoilers for the episode, so if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend watching it before hearing my thoughts. As the finale of the first season, it definitely gave a satisfying ending to the season, while perfectly setting up for Season 2 next year, or as we know now, in fall of 2020. Picking up right where Chapter 7 left off, Chapter 8, titled Redemption, shows the two biker troopers returning to the town after capturing Baby Yoda and killing Queel. The troopers stop just outside of the town and radio to the command center to report that they have the asset. The trooper on the other end tells them to wait where they are because Moff Gideon is on a rampage and even killing his own men. We get a few minutes of the two troopers interacting with one another, which I'm pretty sure is the longest we've ever seen two stormtroopers just chilling somewhere and talking. We get to see a continuation of the running joke that stormtroopers can't aim when the two take out their blaster pistols and try to shoot a piece of scrap on the ground near them, but end up missing every single shot. The whole comedy routine between the two is ruined, though, by the troopers repeatedly hitting Baby Yoda in the head. Thankfully, they get the deaths they deserve for committing such a heinous crime when IG-11 shows up to take the child back and fulfill its new programming of protection and nursing. Instead of going back to the Razor Crest, though, IG-11 steals one of the troopers' speeder bikes and rides it into the town, blasting every stormtrooper he sees along the way. The scene then cuts back to the crew in the cantina, where Moff Gideon reveals that he knows almost everything about the three of them. We learn that Cara Dune is from Alderaan, which explains why she joined the rebellion and has such an intense hatred of the Empire. We learn that Greef was once some kind of administrator or important political figure before becoming a bounty hunter, and most importantly of all, we learn that the Mandalorian's real name is Din Djarin, and mentions the Siege of Mandalore, or Night of 1,000 Tears, which we're going to see in the Clone Wars Season 7. After we learn Din's name, we get to see the full flashback to his childhood when the Separatists attacked his homeworld. Just before he's about to be killed by a super battle droid, Mandalorians swoop in from the skies and drive back the droid forces. These aren't just any Mandalorians, however. Din is rescued by Death Watch. This goes along with what we learned of the group in the Clone Wars about how they wanted a return to their warrior roots, and adopting foundlings into their culture is a part of that. Of course, that doesn't forgive or erase all the things Pre-Vizsla did to Mandalore, but it does give us a perspective on the group as more noble heroes than what we've seen before. As IG-11 rides in to save the rest of the crew, the stormtroopers outside of the cantina bring in an E-Web heavy cannon to blow the rest of the building away. One thing I love about this show, and especially this episode in particular, is how they just casually name-drop all of the technical terms for all of these things, like the E-Web. It's not something we've ever really seen on screen before, and it's just a nice addition to the show. Once the troopers are done setting up the cannon, Moff Gideon gives the crew another chance to come out and face him directly or be destroyed, and Gideon gives them till nightfall to decide. After the Moff leaves the scene, IG-11 comes in guns blazing with Baby Yoda strapped to his chest. He begins taking out troopers left and right, and the crew inside the cantina use the chaos to run outside and join the fight. Din grabs the E-Web and uses it as a mobile artillery gun to wipe out groups of troopers. Soon, Moff Gideon returns to the scene where he shoots Din in the back of the head before shooting the power source to the E-Web, causing it to blow up in Din's face. The crew is forced to retreat back inside the cantina, with Din now injured. He tries to convince Cara and the others to leave him and let him die a warrior's death, since IG-11 was able to get the sewer grate open so they could escape into the Mandalorian Coven below ground. They reluctantly agree to leave, only after Cara makes IG-11 promise to bring Din with him when he joins the group again. The droid agrees, and after the rest of the crew leaves, he's able to convince Din to take the helmet off because IG-11 is a droid and not a living thing. After giving Din a Bacta infusion to his head to treat his wound, the droid helps him down into the sewers, where they rejoin the others. And, of course, we finally get to see the Mandalorian, or Din Djarin, without the helmet, and I was watching Star Wars Explained's video on it a few days ago, and he kind of explained it the best, in my opinion, how everyone was expecting something when the Mandalorian took his helmet off and we finally get to see his face, but then we just end up getting Pedro Pascal. Like, we already know what he looks like. We've known what he looks like the entire time, but for some reason, everybody had this image of somebody great or just something that's really the opposite of what we got, because what we got is just a guy in a helmet trying to do what he thinks is right, and I think that really comes full circle about what this whole show is about and what Din Djarin, or the Mandalorian's character, is all about. He's just a guy that's just doing what he thinks is right, and I think that's what's special about this whole show. After a bit of exploring, they come across what's left of the Coven and the Mandalorians, just a pile of helmets and armor. We discover that the armorer is still there melting down the Beskar before she leaves. She explains that after the Mandalorian came to Din's rescue in Episode 3, the Empire discovered the Coven underground and came to wipe them out once again. She then tells them of the Great War between the ancient Mandalore and the Jedi, and after seeing the child for the first time, explains that he's not an enemy, but a foundling, and gives Din the signet of the Mudhorn on his armor. Along with this, she also gives him a jetpack, which the Mandalorians apparently call a Rising Phoenix. That's when we also get to learn the setup for Season 2. The child is now in the care of Din, and as Mandalorian culture dictates, his job is to either take the child in and raise it as his own, or return it to his people. I hope we do get to learn more about the Yoda, Yaddle, and the child species in the coming seasons, but I'm not sure if I want everything to be revealed about them, because there's a certain charm in the mystery surrounding the species. After the crew finds an escape route along a lava river that's piloted by an astromech, but with arms and legs, we get a cut back to the armorer as the stormtroopers arrive underground. We get an awesome fight sequence of the armorer taking out the troopers with their tools, and then cut back to the crew as they discover the exit to the tunnel is guarded by a platoon of stormtroopers. IG-11 volunteers to carry out his original programming by sacrificing himself to save the others. He steps out of the boat into the river of lava and goes outside, self-destructing and taking out all of the stormtroopers with him. The crew makes it outside just in time for Moff Gideon to come swooping in with his TIE fighter as a last attempt to take them out. Din uses his jetpack to fly up into the air and latch onto the ship, and after a bit of a struggle, manages to place bombs on one of the fighter's wings before jumping off and landing safely on the ground. The fighter crashes in the distance, and once everything is over, Greef offers to let Din back into the Bounty Hunter Guild. He refuses, saying he has to fulfill his higher calling with the child first, and then for whatever reason Cara and Din split up again, with her staying on Navarro. This is probably my biggest complaint about the episode, because we finally get to see the whole cast together, and then they just split up again, but at the same time, it's still a good setup for next season, which we already know that Cara Dune is coming back, but I do hope that she is in more than just 3 episodes, and is a bigger part of the show next season than she was in this one. After that, we get to see Din flying away with Baby Yoda back to the Razor Crest in a mirror of how he was carried away by the Death Watch soldier when he was a child. Of course, as everyone probably guessed, Moff Gideon didn't die in the crash, but what no one would have seen coming is Gideon cutting his way out of the TIE Fighter with the fucking Darksaber. Excuse me, what? This man has the Darksaber? This reveal could be a setup for a number of different things in Season 2, but I think I will save my speculation for a separate video. All in all, I'd give the season finale of The Mandalorian a 10 out of 10. It is by far my favorite piece of Star Wars media that has been made since the Clone Wars. Every second of it was entertaining and gave me that same pure Star Wars joy as the animated show did back when I was a kid. I really hope Season 2 turns everything up to 11 with a bigger budget and maybe even bigger cast. I think the show's biggest problem was budget constraints, which I hope will be alleviated now that Disney and Lucasfilm have seen how successful the show actually is. As always, I'd love to know what you think of the season finale and the Mandalorian show in general, or season 1 in general, down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as those really do help a small channel like this, and consider subscribing if you want to see more Outer Rim Cantina content in your subscription feeds every week. That's all the time I've got for today. I'll see you back here in the cantina next week for more Star Wars videos. Until then, may the Force be with you.